Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 2nd of December, year of our Lord 2020-24. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Welcome to December, the first ever December edition of the Coping Hour in the year of our Lord 2024. You've never seen this before. This is unprecedented territory, uncharted waters here at the Coping Hour, where we cover all the biggest stories and we cover them from all angles. We do actually have a lot of stuff to talk about today. It's pretty much all football related, like so much football that I'm sure we'll get to some emails. I don't know how this one's going to go because I've been so football pilled in the last few days from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the day this releases. What's that, 4 or 5 days in a row of consequential football? That's all that we've been doing is watching football. Now, 6 months from now, when there's no football going on, I'll be like, damn, I kind of miss when there was 5 days in a row of like football, like rivalry weekend and, again, consequential action. We're talking about maybe deciding the Heisman this weekend. Both candidates, Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter, go out and they both make very compelling cases. Again, rivalry weekend in college football, Thanksgiving Day football, Black Friday football. We'll talk about all of this, but I'm like footballed out right now. My brain is like, I'm in a pretzel. Now, what I have not told you about, because there's no way that I would have been able to communicate this, is I did end up taping a very brief episode in the middle of last week that I intended to put out as like a little bonus surprise episode. It wasn't the full 60, but I was like, I want to give you guys something. I said there was going to be no show because I was, just doing holiday stuff, which is exactly what ended up happening. But I wanted to surprise you guys. So I taped like a 20, 30-minute show. It will never see the light of day. I'm only telling you that I taped it just to hold myself accountable. For the future, Nick, when you're feeling manic and impulsive, just like chill. Don't immediately go on camera and like just throw a bunch of shit into a microphone at like 105 miles an hour. It's not nearly as interesting as I am maybe making it sound, because the first bit of it was a warning. The first bit of it was me being like, if you live in California right now, you need to leave because this is an earthquake. That's going to happen. It's 100% going to happen. I'm worried about our West Coast listeners, but specifically our California-based listeners. I've taken on the responsibility. I've adopted the responsibility of being the digital Paul Revere whenever I need to be about, varying happenings, not just in the United States, but globally. And what I have clocked is that oarfish are once again washing up on the shores of California beaches. Now, if you are familiar with the folklore of such a happening, you know that means that some bad shit is about to happen. You know that these deep sea creatures washing up on shore means that they're swimming up from the depths for a reason, because there's some tectonic action happening below our feet in the crusts of the earth, the depths of our planet. They're like, this is more of a visual thing, but that's like what the gather the kids around the television. Let me teach you about tectonic plates. So basically there's these things and they go like this. They're like, and that's how you get earthquakes. So when these fish at the bottom of the ocean, they sense that. And they're like, wow, what the hell is going on? We need to go up. And then they die because they can't live in like shallower depths. And then they wash up on beaches. And that's how you know that an earthquake is about to happen. It's going to happen. Now, this could just be like a 3.2. Could be something that's just kind of on the margins. Honestly, is my biggest regret about leaving California is that I never got to experience an earthquake. I was only there for a year. Only lived in Santa Monica for a year. But in those 365 days, there was one instance of an earthquake happening. I was back here in Chicago. I don't remember why, but for some reason, I was just back here in Chicago. I'm like reading the news, checking out Reuters. What's Reuters got for me? This was a fucking earthquake yesterday? Shit! I get back to it was something, it was small. Like I said, it was like in the threes, maybe in the low fours. So I go back to the office the following Monday. I'm like, you guys get the earthquake? You here for that? You seen this? You heard about this? They're like, yeah, it's an earthquake. I was like, how was that? They're like, it was an earthquake. We moved around and we're like, whoa, that's an earthquake. And then we chilled for a second and then it was over and everything was fine. I was like, that sounds so much fun. It sounds like it'd be so much fun. I never got to experience that, and probably for the rest of my life, I'll never get to experience an earthquake. Which is probably good because I would be such a little annoying ass bitch about it. Like for the rest of my life, oh, you never experienced an earthquake? Yeah, it's weird. And I would just like go on from like my one experience of experiencing a 2.9 or something crazy. So our California-based listeners, just put a pin in that. I'm not going to tell you I told you so if it does happen. I just want you to be aware. Just put that in the back of your brain. That's how we started the show, was me being really frantic about that. And then the next 25 minutes, which this was not planned, this was not the way that it was supposed to go, was just me talking about implications happening globally right now that could lead to a global conflict. And I started talking about, in a not funny way, I was being very serious, genuine, why don't I just do it? Why don't I just do what I was going to say? No, do it later. Do it later. Don't do it now. It was a very frantic show that I put together, and I was like, you know what? This actually isn't... This is not what people need right now. So I put it in a can for, it's in a time capsule. It is a time capsule episode for a time capsule show that we are time capsuling. So it's not time capsule squared. What's 3? Time capsule traced. Let's just talk about football today. Let's just do some sports today. Well, listen, you were probably all... maybe a little bummed that there was no episode on Friday. I kind of was too. Because, boy, was there some stuff to talk about from that Lions game. You know, it's Thursday afternoon, and us here in America, while you're filling your stomach full of applesauce, apparently Matt Eberflus had some in his brain. The hell? What happened? What happened at the end of that game? I've had, at this point, 3-4 days to process it. I still don't know. We've seen press conferences. We've seen quotes. So much information has come out about what transpired in the last 33 seconds for Caleb Williams and for Matt Eberflus. I still don't feel confident in being like, this is what happened, and laying it out. I don't even need to set the stage because, listen, the one thing I was worried about was dumb stuff was going to happen in that game. I was like, this is not a gimme for the Lions. Like, we're banged up, and the Bears are, like, kind of frisky. Like, they don't stink. They just don't. They just have really poor coaching. And that's exactly what happened. That was exactly what was on display in this game from Chicago. Now, the first half, the dumb stuff I was alluding to was just the fact that the Lions should have been up like 28-0, 35-0, but they just kept having to settle for field goals. So it's like 16-0. You're like, all right, that's fine. The Bears don't pick up a first down until like 2 minutes left in the first half. They just like don't possess the ball at all. They're not doing anything. Caleb Williams, the first quarter had like 2 passing yards. By halftime, he had what, like maybe 40? Nothing was going on. Nothing was happening at all for the Bears. The second half, Caleb Williams looked awesome. Caleb Williams was like single-handedly willing the Bears to this comeback effort. And in the first half, I'm saying out loud and in my head, where's Keenan Allen? Remember when Keenan Allen got traded to the Bears and everyone in the NFC North was like, shit. Oh, no. And they draft Rome Odunze. You're like, whoa. And they already have DJ Moore. You're like, whoa. This kind of, get DeAndre Swift. Whoa. This kind of turned into a team. Are we capitalizing the T yet? We had to, put a pin in it and wait to be sure. And then, we're at this point in the season. Again, yeah, actually, I do think that they do. But Keenan Allen was just like MIA in this game. And like largely for the season. But like, how many Keenan Allen moments have we really had? And then the second half happens. Oh, there he is. Whoops. Yep, there he is. Jameson Williams has a boneheaded, unsportsmanlike conduct. And I was like, actually, come on, JMO. We all spend so much time defending you from, the shenanigans that you do. Even the stuff that isn't even his fault. Oh, no, he placed a bet in a hotel room. Suspended 4 games. Okay? He takes like a antibiotic. Suspended for 2 games because he didn't report it to the NFL. Clearly not a PED because he would have gotten 4+. He only got suspended 2, so he just didn't report whatever he was taking. Could have been like a fucking blood thinner or something. Like, we don't know. Suspended 2 games. All right, whatever. Dan Campbell's like, we don't care. He's fine. Then like this gun stuff starts coming out. Jameson Williams and his brother are in the car. They get pulled over. His brother driving is like, hey, there are 2 weapons in the vehicle. I'm telling you that right now. The cop's like, okay, thanks for telling me. And the brother is like, here's my registration for the weapon. And here's my, is it a CDL? Is that what it is? Here's my concealed carrying license. Cop's like, cool, sounds good. Thanks for that. And then Jameson is like, I have my gun registered, but I don't have my concealed carry license. Fuck. There's a whole story that I don't need to get into it. We are a little bit worried about how that was going to turn out. Lions fans are like, I don't know, this fucking guy. And then it just came out the other day. He's not going to face charges for that. Oh, thank God. Oh, my God. Woo. Dodged a bullet there. No pun intended, right? So he has that dumb, unsportsmanlike conduct. And the reason that I got derailed there. The reason I bring that up, dog, the one that Keenan Allen had, they're already facing an uphill battle. They're down at the 1. They got to go 99 yards to win this motherfucking thing. And Keenan Allen wanted like a PI call. He wanted like I don't even know what call he wanted. It was like a clean tackle. He just kind of got hit high and got his helmet ripped off. Like it was a weird play. Like it was a weird sequence. Sorry you got your helmet ripped off, but like nothing illegal happened. Keenan Allen gets up and starts yap at the ref. Throws the ball at him like, fuck you. Just give me a call. Throw a flag. Give me a whistle. Stripes. He gets it on Sportsman like, whoops. So the Bears, Caleb Williams specifically orchestrating drive after drive after drive in the second half. Awesome. The Bears are on the doorstep of like, are they going to tie this thing up and we're going to go to overtime? Is that what's about to happen? Injuries left and right on both sides. I felt like this game took 4 hours because every other play, somebody else is down. Statistically, I read this morning, the Lions are actually the most injured team in football right now. Had another linebacker go down with a torn ACL, Malcolm Rodriguez, which sucks because he finally started to get some opportunity again, and he was really taking advantage of it. Done for the rest of the year. The Lions go into training camp with a lot of depth, specifically at the linebacker position. We're in, week 13? And we're signing dudes off of anybody's practice squad. We have nobody left. Jamal Adams is a Detroit Lion. If this was 10 years ago, could you imagine what that would feel like? But now you're like, what does that even mean in 2020? Jamal Adams is on our team. That's cool. That's cool. But, like, what does that mean? We'll have to wait and see. The Bears are driving down the field. Caleb Williams gets sacked, takes him out of field goal range. Cairo Santos not hitting that field goal. He's sucked all year. 33 seconds left on the clock. He starts hustling everybody back to the line. They got one timeout in their back pocket. It almost looks like he's doing a signal, like for a play call. Like he's like, do this, like, wah, 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 wah. Hotty toddy, check down, Y cross, pro right, Z motion, Y, like Y slant. I don't fucking know. He's calling a bunch of shit. Twins left. But then he just like starts fixing his armbands and he's just sitting there. And it almost is like, is he like reading the defense right? Snap the fucking ball. Snap the ball. Or call a timeout. Do something. Because like and then guess what happened? Neither of those things happened. Well, they did eventually snap the ball with like 5 seconds left on the clock. You had 33. You would have thought that they had a play racked at that point. I guess they didn't. We'll get to that in a second. Put a pin in that one. We also find out that Caleb Williams was waiting for the play call, but just like wasn't getting it. Okay. People in real time were refusing to blame Caleb Williams for that at all. I'm like, what is there to... dog, you have the timeout. You could throw the ball in the middle of the field if you really want. Throw the ball to the sideline or just forvert this shit. Do literally anything. Do literally anything if, again, there was no play racked. Okay, so they didn't do any of that. People are like, it's not Caleb Williams' fault. It's Matt Eberflus's fault. Yeah, because in that moment, you're thinking like, if I'm the head coach, I'm like, all right, this is not going the way we wanted it to. We see our rookie quarterback struggling to like figure out what the fuck is going on. For whatever reason, again, whatever happened, right? The snap wasn't, well, it wasn't getting snapped. So no matter what, you just got to kill this play. Just burn the fucking timeout. You even see players on the sideline like, snap the fucking ball. They didn't. That whole drive, you're like, wait, are the Bears going to do this? Are the Bears going to do this? And then you forgot for those last 33 seconds, you forgot that they were the Bears and that they are the new Detroit Lions, where for my entire life, the last 20 years that I've been watching Lions football, they've invented a new way to lose every single Sunday. That's been the Chicago Bears this season. A team that like is only a few sequences away from having a winning record and like being in the playoffs or in the hunt at least. You know what I mean? They've just had a lot of really bad breaks. This was another one. Because they have the players, they just don't have the coaching. Caleb Williams, eventually throws the ball. That's it. they leave that game. They leave Ford Field with a timeout in their back pocket. Everyone in America was watching that game being like, what the fuck just happened? It's over? Dan Campbell, Terry and Arnold, all the players were even like, that's it? What just happened? What was that? For the first time in my life, I needed to watch the press conference live. I've never felt so compelled. Usually a boneheaded thing like that happens. Whatever it is, a coach in his press conference, I know that I'll see the quotes on socials. I know that in 20 minutes, I'll see the clip on Reddit if it's really noteworthy. I don't need to watch it live. I needed to know immediately what just happened. So I go to YouTube. I'm sitting at the live press conference. Stay tuned. The press conference is coming up. I sat there for 5 minutes waiting for Matt Eberflus to show his face, and then he finally did. First of all, the media oh my God, these reporters, you would have thought Matt Eberflus was the Beatles playing the Ed Sullivan Show, the way that these people were fighting over each other to get a question out. Piranhas. Blood was in the water. Matt Eberflus, what the fuck just happened? I'm going to butcher the direct quote, but he, real life, was like, yeah, we actually liked what we were doing. We liked the look that we had. We had a play racked. That's what he said, was they had the play racked even after the sack. He was like, we just didn't execute. Because the question was like, what would you have done differently in retrospect? He's like, nothing. Actually, I really like what we did. What? What? So then he's like, one of the reporters is like, okay, so 33 seconds. Like, at what point should you have used the timeout if you were going to use it? He was like, well, we didn't want it to get under 18 seconds. And then once it did, we were like, well, we're already here, something like that. I'm listening to this guy. I'm like, I guess I still haven't figured out what I was thinking in that moment. Because you're like, what? Jesus Christ. It was wild. From an otherwise second half from the Lions. Again, I do actually chalk a lot of that up to injuries. Bears defense was not terrible by any means in this game. It was hilarious. It was so bad that for the first time in franchise history, the 100-year history of the Chicago Bears, they fired their coach in the middle of the season. That's never happened. They've never done a midseason firing of one of their coaches. And that's like been a consistent narrative throughout all of these shithead coaches, right? Whether it was Nagy, whether it was like John Fox, Lovie Smith, whoever it was, right? Fire them in the middle of the season. The Bears won't do it. The McCaskies will not do that. When you have an error that bad, it's one thing if it's the C team game on Fox on a Sunday afternoon. Well, not that many people saw it. Who cares? America was watching your coach make that mistake, and it was not the first of its kind that he's made this season. They did the right thing, which sounds crazy, but again, given the historical precedent of that franchise, they did the right thing, and it's okay to be like, wow, they actually did the serious franchise thing, and they fired Eberflus. So Bears fans, I don't know who's going to... The funniest outcome here is they get Ryan Day, but we'll circle back maybe to that in a little bit. So what else happened in the... Lions are 11-1, by the way. That's never happened before. They'd been 10-1 before in 1934. They've never been 11-1. So when I say you've never seen the Lions be this good before in your life, usually somebody of a different generation could be like, well, I saw them win championships before the Super Bowl. You've never seen them be this good in the wins and losses columns. Nobody ever, alive or dead, with a pulse or not, has seen the Detroit Lions be this good as they currently are on December, as I'm taping this, the 1st, 2024. We'll see what happens on Thursday night against the Green Bay Packers. What else happened in the NFL this week? The Kansas City Chiefs. Holy shit, they won again. Not only did they win, but folks, I just want to put this out there that we did talk a little bit about, maybe a week or two ago at this point, Flutter Entertainment, the parent company that owns a lot of the gambling sites that some of you out there might use, or at the very least be familiar with, reported some pretty substantial losses in their last fiscal quarter. due to unfavorable sports outcomes, which again, like we said the other day, just means that bettors won too much money. That's all that means. So you were like, okay, so how did they recoup that money? If you're somebody who, and listen, we don't do conspiracies on the show. Very famously, we reject all conspiracy. We think it is unsafe and unwise. But what we did say was, if you are somebody who was interested in participating in conspiracy and you believe that these betting companies are in bed with the leagues in the intense way that some people would say that they believe that they are, rigging games, fixing outcomes, I said, keep an eye on this. I didn't say that. I didn't say it. I just said some people might say that because we don't do conspiracies on the show very famously, right? We said just the sports landscape across the board here in North America. If something weird happens, just remember this conversation, that the betting companies out there are like, hey, we're losing money. We're losing a lot of money. Some weird shit happened at the end. And all the technicalities of it is, I'm not going to go into it because I'm still just like, what the hell happened? It shouldn't have been it was a false start, dead ball, whatever happened. Aiden O'Connell just like took the blame. He was like, we fucking lost the game. The ball bounced weird. I didn't get the fumble. Sucks. Just when you think the Chiefs are dead, they're actually not. It's like the Reddit wired autocomplete. It's actually me. But the Chiefs actually won again. They're actually not dead. Again. 14 consecutive wins in one possession games, including the playoffs, for the Kansas City Chiefs. Which is, I'm not going to say it's too bad because I don't believe that. But here's my take about AOC. Aiden O'Connell, man, he's fun. He's a frisky little quarterback, isn't he? I like watching him because he reminds me of, I haven't been able to figure out who he reminds me of, like, exactly, but to me, seems like a guy who could be in the NFL for like 10 years as like a backup's backup. I don't mean as like a third string. I mean like your backup's favorite backup. Like Brian Hoyer, a career backup quarterback, but like that was his deal. Like that's what he did, and he was really good at it. Brian Hoyer's favorite backup would be like an Aiden O'Connell type character where he can come in and he can still win you a shit ton of games. Like that one year that Matt Castle had with the Patriots, right? But I didn't think it was Matt Castle. I didn't think that's what I was thinking of. Do I think Aiden O'Connell is like a Ryan Fitzpatrick? I think we're getting a little bit warmer, but I still don't think that's what I mean. I just can't figure it out. But you know what I mean? Like he's the one who just like comes in. You're like, oh yeah, this guy, he's got to like take over the ship for like 2 weeks while our starter gets healthy again. I just feel like Aiden O'Connell is a fun quarterback for like that type of situation. So Raiders fans, how does that make you feel? Also, shout out to Brock Bowers. Didn't we get an email at the beginning of the year where a guy was like, hey, by the end of the season, Brock Bowers will be a top 5 tight end in the league? I think what we said was like, probably, maybe. I don't remember if I agreed or disagreed with it, but he definitely is having like the Sam Laporta rookie year where because like tight end position kind of weird in the NFL, the ebbs and flows of it with like who are the top dogs and like who are, you know what I mean? Like that ladder changes constantly. And last year, Sam Laporta just had a rocket of a year, and suddenly he was like 8 weeks into the season, people are already talking about him being like a top 2, top 3 tight end in the NFL. That's since dissipated, but that's also just a sort of a consequence of how many weapons the Lions actually have. I'm not saying that just to detract from like how good he is or anything like that, but I think Brock Bowers, what he has going for him is like, yep, it's him and like Jacoby Myers. Who am I forgetting? Maybe I'm forgetting somebody else. Brock Bowers is like the best dude, the best pass catcher that the Raiders have right now. He's awesome. And then to me, him and Ladd McConkey will always be like married. They'll always be tied together just from like the Georgia thing, just like the Georgia piece of it. Ladd McConkey also really good for the Chargers. I believe both of them this week had 100 yards in the air, 100 yards receiving. Good for both of them. That rules. Kansas City Chiefs won again. What else did we do? Those damn Steelers. Damn it. They did it again. This time they beat our guy, Joe. They beat America's sweetheart, Joe Burrow. What a season from hell they've had. It's like them and the 49ers, which, by the way, we're taping this. They're starting Sunday Night Football right now. I wanted to get this into camp. I'm not going to be able to do it after, but I want to watch a snow game. So Bills 49ers game happening as we're taping this. So I won't have any commentary on that. But you talk about the Bengals and the 49ers having like the evil Murphy's Law seasons. If something bad can happen, it will happen. And guess what? 13 weeks into the season, it has happened for both of those teams. Cincinnati's sort of been a victim of the schedule. You're going to be like, well, just because they play good teams, like, yeah, you got to beat those teams. Yeah, for sure. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not just that they're losing to good teams. Like, the way that they lose. They've lost like 5 games this year in spite of them putting up 30 points on offense. You know how hard that is? You know how demoralizing that is? Dog, they combined with the Steelers today for 82 points. Was it 44-38? You scored 38 points and you fucking lost the game? What? So, yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for Bengals fans because, like, they're not a bad team. They're just not a bad team. Every week is just something different. And it's not like they're inventing new ways to lose. I don't know. It's just something different every week. Conversely, Steelers put up 44 points. Had a defensive touchdown, strip sack on Joe Burrow. How's that shit? God, what a fun play that is. Just in football, just in general. Love that play. The strip sack fumble. Recovery for a touchdown, I should say. Absolutely love that. Steelers put up 44 points. Russell Wilson, 414 yards passing through like 3 touchdowns. George Pickens had a sequence that I'm a little confused about. Why didn't he get tossed? He had 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. One of them was for like shooting a fake gun at a fan. And the ref clarifies it is unsportsmanlike on George Pickens. And even though it is his second, it's not the kind that disqualifies him. I don't actually care. I'm just asking, like, why? What is that? What the fuck does that even mean? He tried to shoot a fan. George Pickens tried to kill a fan, and the ref was like, you can do that. You just can't try to kill a player. Like the guy who tried to kill Trevor Lawrence today, he got ejected because you can't try to kill players, but you can try to kill fans. Like Ron Artest, after the Malice of the Palace, very famously was not ejected. He wasn't ejected. They let him get his free throws right after that. Right? So you could do it to the fans. You just can't do it to the players. What was I talking about? Yeah, the Steelers, man. Do I have to do it? Do I have to do the thing where I'm like, all right, fine. They're good. Fine. Because honestly, this was the first game that I've watched them win all season that I was like, holy shit. Well, the Ravens game was maybe another one that I was like, oh, damn it. They might be kind of good. Because the record thing just doesn't matter to me. 9-3. Yeah, that is a good record. But like, I'm just like, no way, right? No. And it is exclusively because of Russell Wilson that I just don't want to root for this team. But like he's been so good this year. What is he now? 5-1? 5-1 as the starter for the Steelers. By the way, the one loss that they had was like horse shit. Because it was in a blizzard game. And that's just kind of a coin toss. All that whatever, all the stuff that comes with that. It's like, whatever, man. I guess you're okay with losing a game like that. I mean, it did stink because Pittsburgh's going into the teeth of their schedule right now. And that one extra win matters. You know what I mean? That one extra win, especially against a divisional opponent, definitely matters. There was some legitimate consequence to losing that game. But for all intents and purposes, the Steelers are in the driver's seat right now. And they look really good. 44 points from the Pittsburgh Steelers today. What else did we see this week? We're taping this on the heels of Ravens. That's who it was. Eagles-Ravens. How about the fact that we got Nance and Romo twice in like a 3-day span? Nance and Romo called the Thanksgiving Day game in Detroit, Bears-Lions, which I glaring omission that I didn't even mention that. And you guys know how that must have made me feel. I'm sitting here just like eating my pickles and eating my olives, being like, take me there, Jim. Take me there, Tony. Just love, man, I just feel so like, I just love listening to them call a game. And then when I saw that, first of all, Eagles-Ravens, of course I'm going to watch that. That's the game of the week right there. You talk about if we're doing the week by week, who's going to win the MVP thing that like ESPN does, I watch a lot of Get Up and I watch a lot of First Take and I watch not that much NFL Countdown, but Get Up and First Take, I watch a lot of it. All right. That's all they want to fucking talk about. Week to week, who's the MVP in the NFL? It changes every segment, changes every single day. So narratively, this game has consequence, right? Especially wins and loss columns. Yeah, sure, all that shit, standings, whatever, playoff implications, for sure. But I'm watching this game because I'm like, who is ESPN going to say is the MVP tomorrow? Saquon Barkley or Lamar Jackson? Based on that fourth quarter, Saquon Barkley, based on the outcome of the game, they're going to say that it was Saquon Barkley, for sure. Because Saquon was like fine for the first 2 quarters, like I guess, didn't get that many touches, it felt like at least. And then the third quarter didn't do anything. I think he had -1 rushing yards in the quarter. Didn't do anything. Had like 60 in the fourth, including a rushing touchdown that ended up being the dagger on the whole thing, right? Neither him nor Derrick Henry really put up these gaudy numbers. Not too much of a surprise there. Saquon had over 100 yards, but you know what I mean? A lot of that was from that one carry at the end of the game, which again was important. It was a massive carry, but neither of them really had the impact on the game at large that I think some of us were maybe hoping that they would have. And I would say that that's probably just because each respective defense was like, hey, we need to key in on these two, and they're not allowed to do anything the whole game. What did we get from the Ravens in this game? We've kind of been mean to Mark Andrews a little bit on this show. We've been like, is he a fucking ghost? Where's he been this year? The Mark Andrews thing, is he done? Because every time I watch a Ravens game, it's just like Isaiah Likely. Yeah, he gets some targets. Mark Andrews just like drops the ball and just doesn't get looks. Boy, did he have a game today. Now, this is going to be more of a visual, not a goof, but a visual demonstration. So for those of you who are only listening to this, using it as an audio experience, maybe in the car, wherever it is that you are doing the dishes or something, this will not be for you, unfortunately. But for those of you who are watching this, Mark Andrews' touchdown catch that he had in the first quarter, this is what happened to me. Maddie was asleep, so I wasn't able to react to it. I just had to go like this. It's fucking nasty, man. Had a couple big catches in this game. It's just kind of nice to see him get back on the wagon. Like, actually play consequential football. Make big catches in big moments, even if it didn't end up mattering. Hey, listen, it's cool that the Eagles won, right? It's not cool because as a Lions fan, I'm like, the fucking Packers keep winning. The fucking Vikings keep winning. The Eagles keep winning. They've won like 8 in a row. Vikings have won like 5 in a row. I don't know what the Packers are, what their streak is right now. But all Packers, 9-3? Vikings 10-2, Eagles 10-2. We're only 11-1. I say only 11-1. We're the best team in football right now. But like, chill. I don't want the Eagles right now. I don't. When we get to the playoffs, I want somebody to take care of the Eagles for us. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have like a moment of transparency. Can we do a trust tree right now? Trust tree. Let's lock arms. What I say to you right now does not leave this episode. It does not leave the digital confines of episode 10. What are we on, 4? It stays in here. I'm fucking scared of the Eagles. I don't want to play them. They got good mojo right now. Nick, your team has 10 wins in a row. Yeah, I know, but it's the injuries thing that really scares me. It really, really worries me, again, specifically on defense, like we talked about. I don't want to play them. Because, like, if Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are Sonic and Knuckles, then Saquon Barkley is Shadow. You know what I mean? He's the antagonist to this whole operation. The potential MVP of the entire league. I don't want to play them right now. Keep them as far away from us as possible. I need like Tampa Bay to squeak into the playoffs and knock them out again. Somebody. Or the Vikings. Or the Packers. Do that. I don't want them, though. I feel good about playing anybody else. What was I getting at here? Yeah, the real story of the game. So Justin Tucker is in his Lee Corso era. He just fucking sucks. He's like not the same guy anymore. It didn't really even creep up on us either. It's been like a year-ish. If you want to just say it's just been this season, okay, that's fine. Justin Tucker, like 6 for 13 or 14. 5 of 14, maybe? 5 of his last 14 on 50-yarders? Justin Tucker. That guy. He stinks now. That's devastating. Especially because the amount of kickers this season alone who have banged some in from like 58, the motherfuckers grow on trees now. Like the novelty of that is just like apparently worn off completely. It's just like if your kicker can't boot something from 55 plus, he should not be on an NFL roster. That's crazy. That's like the new standard, which by the way is something that I would argue Justin Tucker helped. He's like this fucking Steph Curry of kickers in the NFL. Seriously. Even in college, I watched a kid this weekend hit one from 57. What? Speaking of college, you guys want to do that? Let's do a little bit of college football. Michigan State lost. Boo. Got murdered by Rutgers. No bowl game this year. Which is that's a tough blow. Because as somebody who spent all season being like, Aiden Childs can literally do whatever he wants as long as we get 6 wins. Because I believe he'll figure it out for next year. This is just kind of like a figure it out year. If your expectations were anything more than 6, maybe 7 wins, I think 7 would be a little bit lofty, but 6 wins, I think, was the perfect level of reasonability. Yeah, we didn't get there, though. And unfortunately, he was just a huge knucklehead. Jack Velling never made the impact that I thought he was going to make. He also almost died last week. Nate Carter, I feel like, kind of tricked us a little bit. Basically, if your name wasn't Nick Marsh, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. So we'll see what happens. Jonathan Smith attacks the portal. Otherwise, this is just like John L. Smith all over again, only now it's John C. Smith. You know what I mean? I was a little bit bummed to see that Rucker. Like, got killed by Rucker. It wasn't even a fucking game. It wasn't even close. What else did we see from college football? It was rivalry weekend, folks. Michigan and Ohio State. The game. Michigan's won, what, the last 3 in a row? The last 4 in a row? What a boring game that was. Like, it's one thing if it's going to be a bad game. Like, the weather is a good example. Like the Steelers and the Browns. It's a bad game because the weather sucked, but that's fun. That's like a wrinkle to it. You know what I mean? That's like a fun little element. But, like, when Ohio State is playing down to Michigan just because it's one of those, like, throw the record out games, their kicker sucks. Will Howard throws a boneheaded interception. Davis Warren, like, amazing story. Brother, amazing story. Don't like watching him quarterback a football team, though. That's not fun for me. Watching Michigan just like spam halfback stretch for, you know what I mean? Like, it's not that fun. Sure, Alex Orji gets like a snap or two. Had a pretty big run in that first quarter. This game was just boring, though. It's like neither of them wanted to win. You can tell me like, well, Ohio State had those, you know, insanely crucial interceptions, one of them being on the goal line from a guy who's been at Ohio State for 4 years and has never beaten the Wolverines. I mean, yeah, it was cool. But I'm just like, can somebody win this thing? And then it was Michigan, and I'm like, fine. I was like, all right, Ohio State's still got some time left. They'll do something with it. And then they didn't because Will Howard stinks. I don't know. It's boring. And then the real action. Ohio State finally shows some fight and some drive. Michigan wins the game. And then as it's over, everyone's doing handshakes. Michigan brings out the flag, and they go to plant it at midfield. The block M in the middle of the horseshoe. Ohio State, haymaker, haymaker, haymaker. Motherfuckers are just jab, 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 jab. There's a brawl that breaks out, right? Gus Johnson, calling this game, gets on his, oh, Michigan, you got to learn how to win. That is disrespectful. Planting a flag. Oh, that is just loser behavior. Shut up. Shut up. What? It's a fucking flag. He sounded like it was the same energy as when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars and Judd Apatow gets on Twitter the next day and he was like, Will Smith could have killed Chris Rock. Shut up. Well, it's funny as fuck, but what are you talking about? You got to learn how to win. You can't. It's a fucking flag. Gus, I understand symbolically what it means. If it pisses you off, beat them. You're the number 2 team in the country. Every time that Ohio State has lost to Michigan under Ryan Day, they have been the number 2 team in the country. If it pisses you off that much, beat them. Cops start using pepper spray. Yeesh. It's funny. Both schools get fined $100,000. I'm sorry. Yeah, $100,000 for that incident. Whoops. Never had an incident with pepper spray, actually, we've had an incident with riot gear, like or riot shields and batons and shit like that, in 2020. That was the only time it ever happened. So George Floyd got murdered, and Maddie and I had only been living in Chicago for like less than a year, and we had never lived somewhere where people were like as politically active as they are here in Chicago. And not that this is a polarizing take, but George Floyd's murder was a very radicalizing moment in our culture, I think, for a lot of people, even though black people being killed by police officers or police brutality in general is not an unfounded concept. I think what added to it was that we had been in lockdown because COVID had just started for a few months. So a lot of us were, I don't want to say like looking for a reason to get out of the house, but a lot of us were existing digitally, exclusively. And seeing something like this, we were already there was like a lot of boiling emotions and shit like that. And again, it was just a very radicalizing moment. And so we decided that we were going to join the protests that were happening here in Chicago. And so we got on a train and we went downtown, and we're like in a march, and we got like signs and shit like that, and no justice, no peace, and all that shit. And once they started doing "I'm black and I'm proud," we just kind of were like, yep. Like we're just sort of holding up our signs in solidarity. But anyways, so we're marching around downtown for probably like an hour, and then we end up at Trump Tower. And I was like, oh, fuck. Whoa, this is real. And we're at the front of it at this point, by the way. We're at like the front of this huge brigade of people. Just like, I don't know, that's just kind of how it happened. And, you know, there are people with megaphones like giving speeches and shit like that. And then the paddy wagons show up and the horse police show up. And then they start, and they're all in like, well, first it was normal cops. And they were just kind of observing. And then I guess we got a little bit too rowdy, and we were like, kill the police. And then they show up, a bunch more cops show up, and they're in riot gear. And then they start like circling the perimeter. Like they start creating a perimeter around us. For those of you who live in Chicago, you know, right on Trump Tower, it might have been either the State Street Bridge or the Rush Street Bridge. I don't remember which one it would have been, but you know what I mean? There's those bridges over the river. That's like where it was kind of, it's like where everybody was hanging out. And then again, up to the base of Trump Tower. And so once their riot gear people start, you know, forming this perimeter and closing in on us, all of the like minorities in the group they started shouting like, allies to the front, allies to the front. Now, if you are unfamiliar with the lingo, that is code for all of the white people get to the front and protect all of the black and brown people so that the police can't get them. So we were like, okay. So we all lock arms, and Maddie and I are face to face with motherfuckers with riot shields, and they got the helmets and they got all this shit. And we're all just like going back and forth with each other. And eventually nobody is like dispersing. Nobody's doing anything. Cause at that point we're like, fuck you. We're not doing anything. We're just like, hey, stop killing black people. Like, not even to you guys, by the way, just in general, just stop doing it. Just quit it. Cut it out. And so eventually, Maddie and I get separated, and I'm in this chaos. I'm in this huge mosh pit. It's like I'm Jon Snow in the fucking Battle of the Bastards. Like, seriously, it was brutal. And I'm like freaking out because I don't know where she is. Now, spoiler alert, it took me about 6 hours to find this out. She got pulled out of where we were in the chaos. I just didn't even know it. And she starts getting fucking wailed on, and they're ripping her hair out and shit. They throw her in a wagon, and they sent her ass to jail, right? So at this point, it's just me. I spent about 45 minutes in this little mosh pit. It's just me I don't know anybody else, and it's just me face to face with these fucking police officers. And what they were doing is they had, so the riot shield guys, and then behind them, there were dudes who would go over the top with these batons, and they would start clubbing people, right? I didn't realize that those things were made of bamboo. Like, for real, they hurt. And so somebody gets knocked over. I go to pick them up. As I'm, bending down and picking them up, baton comes over, knocks me in the back of the head. And I was like, my brain is bleeding 100%. I've never felt pain like that before. I also got one in the back of my hand. I thought my hand was shattered. It hurt like a motherfucker. And so, man, I'm in there watch somebody's leg get snapped. I'll never forget that on one of the little dividers on the bridge. They were trying to get over as cops were like pushing them with the shield. Just snap their fucking leg. And that was maybe the breaking point for me, again, no pun intended, that I had this like out of body moment where I was like, why the fuck are you here? What are you doing right now? You don't know where she is. You don't know where you are right now, brother. Go home. And so I did. I left. Because at that point, I had tried calling her, texting her. Maybe it was like, again, 45 minutes, an hour at that point. I was like, we'll find our way back to each other. I need to get out of here right now because shit is like kicking off in like a major way. And I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this got out of hand, man. Like, it was not exciting, but I don't know. It was a weird feeling. It was a really weird rush of like reverse adrenaline. And so I get on the train and I go home, and I'll never forget this because like I can't emphasize the timing on this. The moment that I stepped off of the Brown line, the train, to go home, this city announced that all trains were shut down. I mean, I barely got out of there. Because otherwise it would have taken me like 2 damn hours to walk home. Because that was downtown and we were living in Lakeview at the time. So it would have taken a long time for me to get home. Especially with how the city was on that day / that night, right? I have like 15 more minutes on this story that I could do, but I just realized that I've probably been telling this for like 10 minutes. So we're going to reverse course back. And that was your recap of the Michigan and Ohio State game, ladies and gentlemen. We were talking about it being rivalry weekend. The one that was really exciting for me was Texas and Texas A&M. The reason that I wanted to go out of my way to watch this game was because I remember it. What is it? 2011? Yeah. It would have been 2011. That was the last time that they played, because it was 2012. That was Texas A&M's first year playing in the SEC. That was Johnny Football. That was his year, the magical year that we all remember, right? That was their first year in the SEC. Can you fucking believe that? So the last time that these two teams played, one of the fiercest rivalries, not just in college football, but in American sports, these two schools playing each other. I remember as a kid being 13 at the time, and I'm someone who has like a very strong attachment to inanimate objects. Like as a kid, we cut down a tree in our yard and I was inconsolable for like a week because I was like, that was my favorite fucking tree. What are you talking about? So like when it was framed in 2011 as you will never see these two teams play again, this is the last time that this rivalry will happen. Because the school said, I think it was Texas that came out, was like, if you guys are leaving, fuck you, we're never going to play you ever again. So like that was it. You know what I mean? Like the relationship had been severed. Relationship, if that's what you'd call it. But you know what I mean. Justin Tucker, callback, of all people, was the one who banged in that game-winning field goal to give Texas the win in Kyle Field. Is that where it was? So for this game to come back, for this rivalry to be reignited 13 years later, it was half of my life ago. I'm 26. It was 13 years in between these two teams playing. Like, we have a family now. You know what I mean? I was very excited to watch it, and did it disappoint? No, because it was a fun game. But, like, Texas A&M just, like, kept roping me back in. I was, like, about to give up. I was like, all right, I can fucking turn this off and go to bed. Then Texas A&M was like, pick 6. I'm like, oh, I think I could go to bed. Texas A&M was like, blocked punt. My fucking God. How about Arch Manning, though? Hell yes. Opened up the scoring in this game with a rushing touchdown. Had to go to review, but that was a touchdown. That was awesome to see. Second throw, ropey throw from Quinn Ewers. Shoebox. Back of the end zone on a wheel route. Also had to go to review, but was a touchdown. Like a ridiculous throw. Great catch, too. Great concentration. Ability to keep his feet in bounds. Like, it was awesome. So that was like it was a fun game. Also, the consequence of the winner goes to the SEC championship game. You know what I mean? Like, that piece of it, it's like, okay, well, maybe I will lock in and I will watch this. Auburn and Alabama. Yeah, that was another one. That sure was another one. Wasn't it? Kalen DeBoer. Still haven't figured that one out. Got it done. Alabama wins, 5 in a row? 5 in a row against Auburn. Was great to see America get to realize on national television that Peyton Thorne sucks. I'm not mad that he transferred out of Michigan State, because I realized that whole year, the magic that was Kenneth Walker. That's why we were good. It was not because of Peyton Thorne. It's fun to watch him run, but also he stinks, and I hate him. He's also not good. Jalen Milroe, pretty good game. I think he lost like 2 fumbles and also threw a pick, but he rushed for 100 yards and threw in the air for like 250. Good for Alabama. Keeping things on track there. This is another game in here that I'm thinking of that I watched that what was it? What was it, Nick? I don't know. Was that it for football? Took me 50 minutes to cover all the bases on football. So what do you say we guys get it? What do you say we get into some emails? copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. You know what? While we're talking about football, this actually came in a week ago, and I want to highlight it because it's funny. Don't have that much to say about it, but this one comes into us from Martinez. Martinez, welcome back to the show. Subject line, Coping Hour Fantasy Football. Hey, Nick. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? The Coping Hour subreddit made a beautiful baby boy named the Coping Hour Fantasy Football Pool. There are 8 teams. We are joined from Reddit. Fun time. My team name is Primary Control because duh. Some other team names include Killian Hayes, Truther, and Capital M Moment. Also, Jesus, dude. I'm not reading this. My grandma listens to this show. What the fuck? You know what? No, Grandma. I'm a diplomat. I'm not saying this. I'm reading something that somebody else said, and here at the Coping Hour, we may cover all the biggest stories, and we may cover them from all angles. But this is also the place where constituents' voices need to be heard. So I am going to read this. I'm not saying this. This is just really aggressive. Also, speaking of Primary Control, that dude broke into my house and fucked my wife the other day. Someone has to keep that dude in check. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But thank you for letting me know and putting that on my radar, brother. Between Primary Control and Capital M Moment, what's the funnier name? Primary Control it's just the best one because it's the easiest one. It's a layup. So the fact that you snagged that IP first, good for you. Killian Hayes Truther, I bet that person's a very nice guy. I bet they're a very nice person. But like, that's not fucking shut up. You know what I mean? Still? Really? Are you still doing that? Really? Don't believe you. Show me their team. Screenshot their team. Send it to me privately. The committee will decide if this person will be anointed an asshole or, all right, they're fine. You anoint them, they're fine. Capital M Moment. Good team name. Just try to spitball real quick. Another good team name as it pertains to this show for fantasy football. 3 teams, bolded, italicized, and underlined. I don't know if that's funny. I'm not sure if that's funny. What's a different one? Thanks for the email, brother. Let's do a different one. This one comes into us from James. James, welcome to the show. Subject line: sports fan heartbreak, would you rather? Hey, Nick, long time, first time. You mentioned in a previous episode your distaste for the, quote, gay son or thought daughter, unquote, question. That got me thinking of a sports fan equivalent, but without the ick of the original. Choker star or cheapskate owner? In this scenario, I'm imagining that choker doesn't necessarily mean embarrassingly bad fumbles or brain farts, just someone who has a solid game and who elevates his team but never seems to be able to make the play, trademark, or author the moment, verbal trademark, needed in championship games. On the other hand, cheapskate here might not mean criminally cheap, but someone who spends enough to ride the excitement of a good team with certified big play stars, but then gets cold feet right at the last mile when all the team needed was one more year together or one more obvious piece to round out the roster. As a basketball fan, I'm thinking of this specifically in the context, I'm thinking of this specifically in that context, but I'm curious how this question might hit differently for the other major American sports. Additionally, I wonder if people's answers would change if the quote-unquote choker and cheapskates qualities were more blatant and embarrassing. P.S. Love the... Thank you very much for all of this, brother. That's a really fun prompt. I think it's just choker, though, because when it's the owner, like, well, when your owner sucks, even if, to your point, like, they're doing everything on the surface to get you to, like, a good launching point, or through that launching point, they get you, you're taxiing, you get off the runway, you reach a steady cruising altitude with this owner. And if it's at the trade deadline, they just like won't shell out the luxury tax money or like whatever it is in order to acquire a Rasheed Wallace type character, you know, someone who would push your team over the edge. It's really easy to have that scapegoat, you know, but the thing that sucks about it, you can't do anything. All you have to do is cross your fingers if your owner sucks, even if it's like marginal cheapskate shit, is pray that they're Donald Sterling. And pray that the 29 other teams in the league will vote to kick this guy out. That's all that you have. Because the odds of that person selling the franchise, low. Oh, sign my petition. We're at 2,500 signatures. Fucking loser. Shut up. You could have 2.5 million. And unless 29 of those signatures are the other owners in the NBA, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't mean dick or balls. Shut up. You can't do that, because at least if you have the like choker player, even if they're not the ones who are like directly smoking the game, like the eye test would tell you, the box score test would tell you that like they're actually not that bad. At least what's fun about that is you can still milk so much content out of that. And I don't even mean it from like content, but like conversation. Talking to dudes about sports. You just kick around trade ideas for that guy. That's fun. It's fun to talk about trades. Because at least there's like a world where you get out of that relationship. You know? What does that say about me that that's the way that I look at it? I'm like, if I had to have this thing or this thing, what's the easiest one to get out of? What's the most conceivable one that like there is like a real exit strategy? It would be the player. If that's not the lens that I'm supposed to look at it through, I'm just trying to think on the fly if there's a different one. I really like the question. Would love everybody's feedback in the comments. For posterity, the dude who emailed last week, and was just while we're talking about rulings here, the Red Wings fan who went to the game and was standing up, and that man and that woman were like, sit down, in like a crucial part of the game. And the kid was like, if I wanted to sit down, I'd be watching this on my couch at home. And he snapped, and he like threw some glitter in the air. And he did like the Disney Channel like mouse thing. Everybody agreed that he was right. There was not one person who thought that he was an asshole. Everybody was like, no, the fans who didn't want to stand up. His section doesn't even matter, I think was also the consensus, is that like if you're at the game, like you're also sort of at the mercy of the people that are sitting around you, even though this guy's etiquette wasn't bad. I was happy to see that everybody agreed. You know, Maddie actually had an interesting point about this. I think the only reason that guy would have been in the wrong for like standing up and like refusing to sit down is if the person, and I think this might sound obvious to some of you, I didn't even think about this at all. She's like, well, what if the person behind you is disabled? I was like, well, that's a good point. But also, as I'm saying that, wouldn't they have special seats anyways? They have like the fucking best seat in the house. They don't need to stand up because they just have like perfect view of the ice in this instance. Or maybe they couldn't and they have an aisle seat and they're in a chair or something, or they got crutches, whatever it is, and they can't stand up. If you see crutches, maybe just chill out. If they're in like a Stephen Hawking wheelchair, just chill out. If you hear like a robot AI voice from behind you, please sit down. You're like, fucking you sit down. Oh, fuck. You turn around. Shit. I'm sorry, dude. And you're like, can I buy you a beer? And then you knock over their drink, their Dasani all over. Just they fucking start short circuit. Let's do a different email. Because we got one like a week and a half ago that I forgot to read. But I think it's important. This one comes into us from Callum, copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. Oh, it was only 6 days ago. It wasn't that long ago. From Callum. Callum, welcome to the show. Subject line, fuck Dynasties. Hi, Nick. I've been listening to the show religiously, and in one of your recent episodes, the topic of Dynasties and your appreciation for them came up again. Bro, I don't get it. I don't want a team that isn't my team making history, as you call it, and I especially don't want my team being a footnote in the recorded greatness of another team. Fuck that. I hated the Warriors during their reign. Here in Australia, we're in the middle of the Penrith? Has to be Penrith. Panthers dynasty in the NRL, and I fucking hate that too. I need you to walk me through your reasoning here, man. I probably just come off as salty. You're coming in a little hot, but I think a lot of people share your beliefs in this, so I'm not that mad about it. I probably just come off as salty that my teams suck, and that's completely correct. But I always prefer rotating greatness to the stagnation of one uber-dominant team. Maybe you could do a temperature check on your audience to see if they share your opinion. This might just be the classic Australian tall poppy syndrome speaking. Love your work, brother. From Cal. Oh, you want me to call you Cal? So this one came into us from Cal, not Callum. Came into us from Cal, ladies and gentlemen. Do we need a temperature check from the constituency? Please let me know. What do you guys think about Dynasties? I'll lay out what I think, and you can either just be like, I agree, or like tweak what I think, or just be like, I fucking don't agree with you at all on this. I think my reaction to like, what do other people think about this? I think most people who listen to the show just kind of let me do my thing. I honestly, what's weird is you're one of the first people to like really push back on this. I don't know what that says. I don't know if that means that people just agree with me, or if I just frame it in a way that's like, whatever, like this is nothing to, like, there's nothing to really fight about. Because, okay, let me hold your hand through this and explain to you why I care so much about them. Because we exist in a very specific point of the timeline, right? We will never exist anywhere before it, after it. Like, we live in a very specific point in history. And what comes with that as a sports fan, right? Well, growing up as a basketball fan, I was born in 1998, so at the tail end of the Chicago Bulls dynasty. So a lot of us grew up, and all we hear about is Jordan. All we hear about is Bird. All we hear about is Magic. And there's some kind of like, not resent or like regret, because it's like you don't have any control over that. But you're kind of like, damn, like it's too bad that I'll never understand what this thing was like at its height, right? At the peak of its power. Like, what was this thing like? So what I tend to do is cling to what I have in real time, right? And identifying those moments as they are happening in real time. So if that's LeBron, then I'm a fucking huge LeBron guy, and I'm witnessing something. I'm witnessing something that 30 years from now, I know for a fact, as it's happening, people will look back on this moment and reflect in a way that's like, man, back in my day, right? We are in my day right now. You and I listening to this, we are in my day right now. So when I watch the Golden State Warriors go after Kevin Durant, and that raw feeling of what the fuck just happened is something that I don't know if it's going to be replicated for the rest of my life. And if it does, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. And guess what? If it does happen, I'll be like, I haven't felt this way since Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. Right? And then they rattle off however many championships they ended up winning. Steph is at 5 right now? Is he at 5 right now? They won 2 with Kevin Durant? Yeah, I think 2 with Kevin Durant. No, not LeBron. Steph's at 4. 2015, 2017, 2018, and then 2021. Yeah, so he's at 4. We're watching the greatest shooter of all time. And that's something that a lot of people 30 years from now will have no concept of. And that's not to say that somebody won't come along that we kind of argue, oh, does he rival this person? But the person that we would be arguing if he rivals was Steph Curry, and we're living through that right now. You know what I mean? I watched the Kansas City Chiefs win 3 Super Bowls in like 5 years. If I'm going to be devoting my time and my attention to this thing, I want to watch it at its purest and at its best. That's why I want the Dodgers to keep doing what they're doing. Between like 6 players, they're deferring $964 million worth of contracts. The bank owns the Los Angeles Dodgers. Sure, they might have some financial problems in like 40 years, but who fucking cares? They're the Dodgers. They'll figure it out. It's unprecedented. They have more money on layaway right now than the Oakland Athletics have spent on their entire 40-man roster for the last 10 years combined. You'll not see this again. I don't know. Maybe we will. Because now that we've figured out that this can be a thing, maybe it's happened in the past, but not to this extent. You know what I mean? I want to watch Dynasties because I want to be able to look, and you know what, man? You could argue right now, well, wouldn't it be just as exciting if for 10 years in a row, it was a different team? It was a different champion. It was a different MVP. And that way, the era that you're looking back on is, remember that? Remember how like up in the air every single season was? The league was so competitive that whichever sport you want to talk about, right? When that league was so competitive that you really never knew who was going to pull it off, you could absolutely make that argument. And I don't even think, because I would agree with you that I would probably look at it that way. I don't have anything against that at all. But we are witnessing so many dynasties in our sports right now that fuck it. If they're going to happen, they're going to happen. And it also just comes down to the way that I consume it. Like, yeah, I'm a fan, right? At the end of the day, but I always just try to look at it through more of like an objective, like historical lens. Like, what does this mean? I feel like I say this piece of it a lot, like narratively, what does this game mean? What is the consequence of this game if this team wins another championship or just one at all? Like, what does it mean? How are we going to look back at it? You know, it's a snapshot in time. What does that snapshot say about its time, right? I hope all of that made sense. So, folks, let me know what you think. Spotify, there's your question this week too, by the way. Spotify listeners, just weigh in on the Dynasty stuff. Or if you want to give a Coping Hour themed fantasy sports name, that could also be fun. Yeah, there's a little variety for you guys. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. It's pretty fun. Didn't end up having diarrhea. I was really worried I was going to have diarrhea. Haven't been doing that very much lately because I've been not eating like a horse. Well, actually, I guess if I was technically eating like a horse, it wouldn't be that bad because then I would just have a lot of, what's in grass? Fiber? What's in grass? Probably something good. Wheat? No, there's no wheat in grass. Wheatgrass? I don't think that's what that is. I haven't been eating bad, though. Although today I did kind of go off the rails a little bit. It was an accident. It was a complete fucking accident. I ate a jar of pickles. I was like, I feel like shit. What happened? Oh, I ate a jar of pickles. And then I looked at the nutritional value, and it was like, if you eat one pickle, it's 12% of your daily sodium intake. Shit. Fuck. Got a bag of those popcorners. You guys ever had those? Oh, throw them away. You got them in your cupboard? Throw them away. Hate them. They suck. Had some baked potatoes for dinner. What have I been eating for breakfast? I had whipped cream today. Had some whipped cream. You know, that's one of the things as an adult. When you're like 18, 19 years old and you kind of start to get out of the house or whatever, and you kind of start to do the thing where you're like, I'm going to have pizza rolls for breakfast. And you're like, whoa, this is so fucking cool. Like, I've always wanted to do this. I'm having ice cream for lunch. Like, wow, I can finally do it. And then you get to a certain age where that's the novelty of that just kind of wears off. You're like, all right, fine. Like every now and then, like, sure, I'll have a Pepsi at 7:30 in the morning, but like, whatever. You know what I mean? You're just kind of over it. I think I'm a grown ass man and I want this, so I'm going to do it. Thing is going to be having a bowl of whipped cream. Just whipped cream. Just that. Because I keep doing the thing where I'm like, all right, Nick, stop eating. That's the biggest problem I have with like doing the at-home dad shit all day is I just get bored and then like he'll be taking a nap or something and then I'm just like, I guess I'll just eat something. I don't need to keep doing that. I've been really trying to cut back on that. But when you have whipped cream in the fridge, you shake it up, squirt it into your mouth. You just do that like every 30 minutes. You're like, fuck. 2 days go by. Where the fuck's all the whipped cream? I don't know. Folks, if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to leave 5 stars. Spotify Wrapped is going to happen on, I think, Wednesday. I think Spotify Wrapped is happening on Wednesday. Oh my God, it's happening. A couple of you guys actually, as your like YouTube music raps keep coming out. Here's my problem. How has YouTube still not figured out how to catalog all of the videos that you've watched in a year? Because like, okay, you're going to do like YouTube music. Who the fuck? Clearly some of you use YouTube music, so I'm not going to disparage it, I guess. But like, really? Okay, like that's cool. I still don't really know where people are getting their podcast ones from. Because like I'm a big video podcast person. I watch every episode of Pardon My Take. I watch it. I don't listen to it. I watch it, right? Same thing with Bill at this point. Bill's been a lot better with just like uploading the videos of them. Ryan's been doing the same thing. So like I watch podcasts because I'm a visual guy. Even though it's just like their dumb fucking faces. Like I don't need to. You know what I mean? How has YouTube not figured out like actual video integration for a Wrapped adjacent? Because that's what I would have a lot of fun with. Guy sent in his YouTube Wrapped and his Coping Hour. At least like 6,000 minutes listening to the Coping Hour. Jesus Christ. A lot of you guys did give me feedback. Ah, shit, I wanted to pull this up. Maybe I'll like get a bunch of data for this and I'll give it to you guys on Friday of all the podcasts that you guys listen to. What is it? Above the Boards? Shit, what is it? Through the Numbers? No, not Through the Numbers. I'm conflating Through the Wire and like something else. Above the Boards? Is that what it is? Something about numbers. What are the numbers, Mason? There's a podcast and I was like, a lot of you listen to this. I have no idea what this is. It's definitely a hoops podcast. One person said the dunker spot. Shout out to Nikias. Big shout out to Nikias. Really, really good guy. A lot of Barstool stuff. A lot of Rogan. Really? Like for real? Like Rogan? Because I listen to him sometimes, but like I'm like, okay, so what the fuck is he saying now? You know what I mean? He'll have like Tucker Carlson on. I'm like, what a fucking fraud he is, by the way. Not Carlson, but Joe Rogan. He said that he was offered to interview Zelensky on the show. And he said with a straight ass face, Yeah, I just didn't want to get into I didn't want to get political on the show. I didn't want to get into the politics of it. You just had J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. You just had the Republican ticket on the fucking show. You don't want Zelensky on? Because when he was like, I don't want to do the Kamala interview because it would be at a neutral site, I would have to go to them, and I don't do that. It's a shitty response, but that's consistent. He's never gone anywhere else. He only ever does it at his studio in Austin, right? Or wherever the fuck he is. So, like, it's a shitty response, but, like, yeah, all right. That's, like, an actual principle that he has, if that's what you want to call it. So I'm not actually that mad at that. Even if I wanted to be like, oh, how about Hot Ones turning her down? Do you guys see that? God damn, that's funny. It's like, no, don't say it. Just get out of here. Just get out of here. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I'm sure to rate 5 stars. Nice little comment. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. So Martinez, his wife keeps getting fucked by primary control. Stop primary control from doing that. Stop. Grandma, by the way, sorry, but that's what he said. I'm just relaying that information, trying to get this fictitious inanimate object to stop intruding on this guy's house and having sex with his wife. I will catch you guys in the next one.